Hello everyone. In this lesson, we learn about third-party overseas positions in the overseas position model. Third-party overseas warehousing refers to the cooperation between sellers and professional overseas warehousing service providers to meet their own overseas cargo trading needs. This type of overseas warehouse is usually of a high level of design and can meet the high standard and professional transportation requirements of some special products. Enterprises engaged in cross-border e-commerce contact in advance with external companies that provide overseas warehousing services and transport the goods to overseas target market warehouses in a centralized consignment manner. After the goods are scanned and put into storage, they will be recorded in the information system of the overseas warehouse and connected to the sales system of the cross-border e-commerce enterprise. When a consumer places an order, the local warehouse will quickly receive instructions to transfer goods from the warehouse and deliver them to the consumer. There are two main practices under this model. One is leasing, that is, directly leasing the existing overseas warehouses of a third-party company and using the information systems and management technologies owned by the third-party overseas warehouses to manage the warehouses. E-commerce companies need to pay operating expenses, logistics expenses and warehousing expenses to third-party companies. The other is cooperative construction, in which e-commerce companies cooperate with third parties to build overseas warehouses and invest their own equipment, systems, etc. In this form, e-commerce only needs to pay logistics fees, but needs to work with third-party companies to operate and manage overseas warehouses. The advantage of third-party overseas positions is that they reduce the company's capital cost. According to data provided by the American Association of Supply Chain and Purchasing, the use of third-party overseas warehouses can reduce capital investment by approximately 13% and costs by 3.7%. For leasing merchants, the cost of building their own overseas warehouses is reduced. For merchants who cooperate to establish overseas warehouses, they do not have to bear the cost of building overseas warehouses alone, and only need to pay logistics fees and warehousing management fees. For overseas warehouse companies, by integrating goods from different e-commerce sellers during the transportation process, the efficiency of container use is increased and the logistics and transportation costs of goods are helped to reduce the logistics and transportation costs of goods. Third-party logistics services are more professional. Third-party overseas warehouse logistics companies have long been engaged in cross-border logistics. They have a high degree of logistics specialization, advanced management concepts, and rich practical experience, and can provide high-quality services to e-commerce sellers. In addition, they have long-term cooperative relationships with transportation companies such as shipping and air transportation as well as local express delivery companies. Therefore, while providing professional logistics and transportation to e-commerce companies, they can minimize logistics costs, reduce risks in business operations. E-commerce companies using the leasing model are equivalent to sourcing logistics links, reducing their own investment, obtaining higher logistics services, and simplifying business processes. For merchants that cooperate to establish overseas warehouses, they share risks with logistics companies, reducing the level of risk. In the long run, companies participating in the operation of overseas warehouses will help them establish high efficiency and low-cost logistics models, thereby enhancing their comprehensive strength and market competitiveness. At the same time, third-party overseas warehouses also have certain disadvantages. Merchants lose effective control over the goods, and once the goods are transported to an overseas warehouse, the seller will lose actual control over the goods. If the goods are damaged, returned, etc., they will be in a very passive position when negotiating with the third-party overseas warehouse. The quality of third-party logistics is difficult to determine. The choice of third-party logistics requires repeated confirmation of quality. Mistakes in third-party logistics will not only cause financial losses to sellers, but will also leave a poor brand impression on consumers. In addition, if the information connection about orders is not smooth, timeliness issues may easily arise in handling customer issues, and these behaviors will have a great negative impact on e-commerce companies. On the whole, third-party overseas warehouses can provide e-commerce sellers with excellent services such as customs clearance, warehousing, and localized distribution. Compared with the self-built model, the cost is lower and the risk is lower. This model is mainly suitable for small and medium-sized cross-border e-commerce companies with small market share and weak strength. Such e-commerce companies usually have certain strength and have considerable sales, but lack the funds and manpower to independently build warehouses. Large-scale cross-border e-commerce companies will not lease warehouses to them. They need to rely on the power of a third party to complete the transaction. However, in reality, the services provided by third-party overseas warehouses are not satisfactory, and sellers often have to bear pressures such as missed shipments, wrong shipments, and inaccurate inventory. The reasons are due to uncoordinated cooperation between domestic and foreign operations, unreasonable warehousing processes, and untimely synchronization of inventory information. Therefore, a high-quality logistics information management system is an important condition for selecting third-party overseas warehouses. This is the end of the introduction of third-party overseas warehouses. Thank you.